Huawei is something that's very dangerous.
Huawei's CFO, her name is Wanzhou.
Comes ahead of the Huawei executive's
Huawei as part
has been arrested in Canada.
An arrest, the CFO of Huawei.
Well, the arrest Huawei in 5G technology
in his Huawei infrastructure that leads all the data back to Beijing.
On December 1st, 2018, the day Trump was scheduled to meet with President Xi to discuss the ongoing trade war, the Canadian police arrested Meng Wanzhou, who was transiting in Vancouver, with an unknown charge. Soon, the U.S. Department of Justice requested the Canadians to extradite Meng to the U.S. for a trial, according to the U.S.-Canada extradition agreement.
Including that Huawei lied to the federal government and attempted to obstruct justice by concealing and destroying evidence.
There is a very important legal concept that is double criminality, to have Canada assist it in arresting Meng Wanzhou. Meng Wanzhou should have committed a crime according to the law of Canada. In the whole world, only in the United States, there is a law to sanction Iran.
Today, that the United States will withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal.
The charge against Meng Wanzhou is not directly Iran Sanctions Act, but Bank Fraud Act. The United States claimed that Meng Wanzhou lied to HSBC, and this led HSBC to violate US law. As a matter of US law, if the United States Department of Justice found a collection between that company with the United States, for example, its CEOs frequently travel to the United States to negotiate business, would be enough for the United States to claim jurisdictions.
The United States and Canada have abused the bilateral extradition treaty. This is a serious infringement upon the legitimate rights and interests of Chinese citizens.
Although the US action against Meng Wanzhou appears to be legal because there are some laws they relied upon, this event is not just legal but also political. Long-arm jurisdiction is actually something existing in the laws of many countries. But why we particularly pointed out that the United States got long-arm jurisdictions, basically that is a matter of ability, not only about law. Because the United States is a superpower, it got a huge number of allies in the western part of the world. Therefore, it could get assistance from other countries to help it to arrest citizens of other countries.
If I think it's good for the country, if I think it's good for what will be certainly the largest trade deal ever made, which is a very important thing, what's good for national security, I would certainly intervene if I thought it was necessary.
For the United States, national security is not defensive, but aggressive. Any country which is perceived as threatening the supremacy of the United States would be considered as a threat to its national security.
5G will transform the way our citizens work, learn, communicate, and travel. We cannot allow any other country to outcompete the United States in this powerful industry of the future. America must win, and we will win.
In fact, China is not the only country targeted by the United States. This is a strategy they have successfully used many times before. In the 1980s, Japan's semiconductor industry developed rapidly, surpassing the United States as the world's largest chip maker.
And overtake the Americans to become the world's top economic power by the year 2000.
Toshiba, the Japanese company that developed the world's first laptop, was, according to the US, raising national security concerns. In 1987, the United States accused Toshiba of violating an agreement, Coordinating Committee for Multilateral Export Controls, or COCOM, which prohibited members from exporting advanced weapons or machines to its Cold War opponent, the Soviet Union.
It is the company that sold sensitive equipment for military use to the Soviets. Toshiba the treacherous. Should we ban their products?
However, in this case, Japan wasn't the only COCOM member who exported machine tools to them. The Seio from Sweden, GSP and Forest from France, Delis from West Germany were also in the trade. However, only Toshiba was severely punished by the US. 2 of its managers were sent to jail and several senior executives resigned. The company spent around $1 million advertising its sincere regrets in newspapers in the United States.
Toshiba Machine Company unlawfully exported milling machines to the Soviet Union. We view with the deepest regret that company's misconduct.
Toshiba was banned from the US market for 5 years, which means it couldn't export to its largest trading partner.
I want my amendment passed for the future that says you're put on notice. If you do this, the cost of you being disloyal to your own country and to the United States as you lose your sales
in other words, the message to these other.
As a result, Toshiba fell to its competitor Intel in the personal computer market in the 1990s and has never recovered since then. The entire Japanese semiconductor industry has been gradually taken over by South Korea.
To the board of directors and chairman of Toshiba, I have to say that there was a large supporting cast. That supporting cast is in the highest echelons of the Japanese government, and perhaps some of those people deserve this award and deserve the consequences that should properly go with it.
We're here to announce a historic law enforcement action that marks the end of a decade-long transnational bribery scheme. A scheme that was both concocted and concealed by Alstom, a multinational French company, and its subsidiaries in Switzerland, Connecticut, and New Jersey.
20 years later, on April 14, 2013, Frédéric Perucci, an executive of Alstom, was arrested at John F. Kennedy International Airport by the FBI. Alstom is a French company, a giant in energy and transport. At the time, it was a formidable competitor to the US company General Electric. He was charged with bribing Indonesian officials to win a power plant contract 10 years ago in 2003. The arrest was based on the Foreign Corrupt Practice Act, a law that aimed to stop companies bribing foreign officials to obtain state-funded contracts.
They used bribes to secure contracts in Indonesia, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and the Bahamas.
Although it was a domestic law of the United States, the US government swiftly applied it to any company that has minimal contact with the US, which goes as far as using US dollars in contracts or sending an email using a US server. Since the act came into effect, 29 companies paid a penalty of more than $100 million based on this act, and 15 of them are from Europe, with only 6 from the United States. But the allegation was not a simple anti-corruption probe. When Perucci was detained, he was asked to become an FBI informant inside Alstom, an offer which he refused. Then, after being detained in a high-security prison for over 14 months, he was sentenced to 30 months in prison. A year later, Alstom was fined $772 million.
Alstom is paying a historic price, as it should, for its criminal conduct.
In 2014, then CEO of Alstom, Patrick Krohn, announced plans to sell the company's power business to General Electric, the US company that coincidentally lost to Alstom in the bidding of the Indonesian project back in 2003. On the same week of the acquisition, Perucci was released.
Clear that the US has been using for quite a long time their extraterritorial reach to target a specific company in specific sector, which has most of the time strategic sector. You see a similarity of cases where you have the US jurisdiction being applied to foreign companies in order to achieve an economic goal.
Only a few days after the company was banned, Huawei issued several statements declaring its intention to fight the order. The company has been provided very little information regarding the charges and is not aware of any wrongdoing by Ms. Meng. Towards the end of June 2019, the company filed a lawsuit against the U.S. Department of Commerce over the entity list. In July 2021, the United States Deputy Secretary of State, Wendy Sherman, who was originally scheduled to visit only South Korea, Japan, and Mongolia, visited China and met with Chinese Vice Foreign Minister Xia Feng in Tianjin. China proposed 2 lists, including an error correction list and a list of key cases. Revoking the extradition of Meng Wanzhou was the first in the list.
你们没有资格在中国的面前说你们从实力的地位出发同中国谈话。
On September 25, 2021, the U.S. Department of Justice reached an agreement with Meng to defer prosecution and notified Canada that it had withdrawn its extradition request for Meng. On the same day of Meng Wanzhou's release, the United States arrested an executive of Russian energy giant Novatek for tax fraud. The U.S. Secretary of Commerce, Raimondo, made an announcement demanding that the world-leading semiconductor manufacturers, including TSMC and Samsung, hand over their confidential information. Raimondo claimed that the US needs this information to advance the industry and overcome the global chip shortage crisis.
Of course, if they don't comply, then we have other tools in our toolbox to require them to give us data.
The world's biggest memory chip makers, Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix, have submitted their semiconductor data to the US ahead of the deadline given by the US Department of Commerce.